Hello, this is where the witty intro goes, but unfortunately, I don't have one. So just 3 words, Krush Dev Diary. So, what have I been up to? I've actually done a reasonable amount since the last update. I haven't really kept decent notes, but a lot of it has centered around the new phase system. I've been adding a lot of creative or interesting phases. Not all of them are that interesting, but there are some which required fundamental changes to the way the game operates. I've actually forgotten which phases I added, so I'm just going to go through them all. Okay, so there's the warm-up phase, which is the first phase. Nothing really happens, it just sets everything up and then you're good to go. Then there's extra target, which adds an extra target. There's remove target, which removes a target. There's double targets, which doubles the number of targets. And then there's half targets, which, well, you can probably work that one out. Double points, triple points, half points, which affects the base scoring multipliers. So obviously, if you get a triple points, you want to make sure your chain's up, and you want to make sure you get as many points there as you can to take maximum advantage. Jumbo targets, tiny targets, just a slight adjustment to the size of targets. Jumbo targets I like, because, you know, they're easier to hit. Tiny targets, I'm not a big fan of. I made that one rare, because it's quite frustrating. Jumbo car, tiny car. Doesn't really make any major difference to gameplay, just changes the size of your car. I mean, it scales the size of the hitbox as well, and I think once I introduce sound, maybe that'll be a chance to have some fun. Like a tiny car will make it like a mosquito whine, whereas a bigger car will have a more bassful, guttural sound to it. Anyway, there's the slow motion ones, super slow motion, speed, and super speed, which scale from, I think, 50% speed to 125% speed, something like that. Again, I find myself preferring the ones that make the game easier, for some reason. Just because it's more fun when the game is generous to you. So I'm not a big fan of the super speed one, because the car becomes harder to control. But slow motion, I kind of like. Everything slows down and it's nice. It's like playing the game on Valium. It's relaxing. Oh, no, this one's definitely new. The magnetic phase and the repulsive phase. Magnetic I made slightly more common because, again, it's more fun to play. But the targets are slightly attracted to you, which makes it much, much easier to collect them. I think I made that one a common one, so you'll see the orange magnetic phase turn up quite often. And it's a nice one to play. The repulsive phase is, well, it's as good as it sounds, really. It's kind of a greeny-blue one. And, yeah, the targets are repulsed by you. That is to say, they try to... the closer you get to them, the more repulsed by you that they are. It works on a similar principle to gravity. So, yeah, you've got to go at them fast and in a straight line. If you sort of, mosey around and don't go directly for them, they will escape your grasp, and you'll probably lose your chain. What else? Oh, deadly walls. Basically, touching the walls will kill you. Oh, this is a nice one. This is, my God, it's full of stars, which is a novelty phase, a rare one, but it basically replaces the arena with a star field. I think there will be some fringe benefits to some of these phases, like, for instance, the star field throws up some issues with... there aren't any holes in the game at the minute, but there is the code on the back end that supports hole generation, and I will introduce hole phases at some point in the future. The only trouble is with stuff like the star field is you won't be able to see the holes. So I'm thinking, maybe, my God, it's full of stars, that phase will not only be a fun novelty stage with a unique visual appearance, but it will also reset all of the holes in the arena, which is a nice positive thing, isn't it? So, other phases. Dark phase, which that was in before. Everything goes dark. The HUD actually changes colour now. It goes transparent. That's one thing I've changed. Both the wall colour and the HUD colour can now be independently changed by phases, which means when it comes to doing stuff like the Matrix phase, I can make the HUD green to fit in with the rest of it. And like I say, it's nice to be able to change the translucency and just to adjust colour if needs be. And the wall colour again, that's used in the deadly wall phase. The walls now glow red. What else is there? Blind phase, which completely removes the HUD, which I dislike as a phase because it makes things much harder. Boring phase, which makes everything grey and does nothing else. Although, I'm thinking, boring phase might have a secret effect. I think I might flip the rarity charts after boring phase occurs. So rare phases become common and common phases become rare, because I think that could be quite, well, it's topsy-turvy, isn't it? So if you see boring phase, you know things are going to get completely unboring once boring phase is done. Oh, and disco phase. I don't like disco phase. It's confusing. The colours change and there's like a disco ball effect in the background. And you can't see anything. But, you know, get some pumping disco music in the background and that might be quite good fun as well. Oh, and the last phase. If you happen to reach 5 minutes, there is a phase called Endless Hell. Now, it's not as bad as it sounds at the minute. In fact, Endless Hell is pretty much the same as boring phase or warm-up. Nothing happens. But I will be adding some rather nasty effects to Hell phase. The very arena itself might start to come apart. And of course, by then, the bulldozer's going very fast and the targets are very small and everything's very hard anyway. I might also make the arena slowly become smaller. But, you know, it's hard enough to get to Hell phase as it is. So those are the current phases, and that's where the majority of my effort has gone recently. And I've been making, you know, lots of little tweaks, like wall colour, HUD colour, various multipliers to stuff. And, yeah, just bug fixes and some of the visual effects, like the star field. So what else have I done? Let's have a look at my list. Live update of car/target size. These used to be set at the start of the game in the initialization method, but now stuff like target size is updated every frame, which means I can change stuff. This was done in response to the jumbo car, jumbo target, tiny car, tiny target, just so I can change stuff live. Fix missing tiles on a fast scroll. Yes, on super speed mode, if you were going fast, you would actually see the tile culling as the screen zoomed out a little bit too much. So that's been fixed. I've added quick restarts. If you're the impatient type and you get hit by the bulldozer, you can now restart instantly. I think you press X on the controller, or I don't know, I think it might be return on the keyboard. But yeah, you can instantly restart and just go straight back to the 3, 2, 1 countdown. What else? Mouse control. I actually added some mouse control. Originally, the backup controls were the arrow keys, but 4-directional controls, they just don't cut it for Krush. I mean, really, you need an analog joystick to play this game. But I do want it to be playable on a system without that option, so I guess the closest thing, analog-wise, is going to be the mouse, or maybe even touch, you know. I want it to be playable on a touchpad or a touch screen at some point. So, I'm working on mouse controls. I do need to tune them, though. So that's pretty much it. That's what I did over the Christmas break. Mostly a bunch of new phases, but yeah, no, there's some cool stuff in there, and there is some important back-end stuff, as ever. You know, there's always something that comes up. So that leads me to today, my first formal Krush Dev day in a while. What do I want to do today? Well, one of the things that's been on the cards for a little while is the bulldozer. Now, the bulldozer, as it stands, has always been a placeholder. It's just a static 2-dimensional sprite. It doesn't really animate, doesn't really do anything, it just moves. And I've redone the car. I've added like moving wheels, I've added the headlights, I've added some fancier effects, and I'm going to give the bulldozer a similar treatment. I want to make it into a terrifying, smoke-belching, juddering thing. You know, I want to give it a little bit more life and animation, just to make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more terrifying. So that's one thing I might be looking at. So I might start looking at particle effects, smoke, and sparks. You'll notice when the car collides with the sides of the arena, it still spews. They're just basic squares. Just that's all they are, basic quads. It just spews those of a variety of different colours, which are, well, they're mostly red, because that's the colour of the old car. But I want to make the particles a little bit more interesting. I might actually, you know, have distinct parts. Car jibs, basically. So I might make the occasional exhaust pipe drop off and body parts. Not like human body parts, but like car body parts. And I'll do that amidst a shower of golden yellow sparks as well, just to, you know, to make things a little bit more interesting visually on that front. I'll see if I can get some nice smoke effects as well. I guess smoke is really just a lot of grey shapes overlaid on top of each other. I might go for the hexagonal motif is something that I do quite often. So I can foresee that the smoke will be made of hexagons, in a kind of cool, stylistic way at least. So I might do some visual stuff. I might try and make some interesting looking smoke clouds out of basic polygonal shapes, and then I'll start overlaying them and animating them, and we'll see what we can do with that. So I might make the car belch smoke when you start it up, stuff like that, and then the bulldozer. I think that will be very smoky as well. I'll have big black clouds coming out of that. So that's my goal. I'm not going to lie, I might add a few more phases in as well, because I like adding phases, and it's a relatively simple thing to do, and I would like there to be potentially hundreds of different phases, because they really do make the game more dynamic, more interesting, and surprising. And I like that, because there's nothing better for a creator of a game to be surprised by their own game. Anyway, I should get to work on all that. So, I shall wrap up this video here. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, until next week, farewell.